I wanted to share this information with you as you are prepping to work on your literary analysis essay. And this is just a few MLA resources that will be specific to this essay. The first is just basic MLA format. I think most of you pretty much understand how to do basic MLA format, but there are resources here. You can click on this link, it'll give you information. However, for this particular paper, in two of the three options you had for your essay, if you were watching this in the fall of 2023, they were electronic sources. So I've given you the basic style for citations of electronic sources, including online databases. So it kind of goes through what each item is. So author or editor name, last name first with a period, article name and quotation marks, title of website, so on and so forth. It goes through what it should look like and what the punctuation should be, those sorts of things. You might want to earmark this because it will also come in handy when we are doing the research paper when it comes to those electronic sources, including those online databases, because that's what you'll be using for your research paper. But specifically, it will be helpful to you if you are citing for your works cited entry, 10 things, or muddling. Typically, you are going to start with author's last name, comma, first name, period, then the title of the story, then who the publisher was. So I think one of them was Oxford American, and I don't remember who the other one was. The point is this, is whoever that is, then you'll have your publication date if one is given. If a publication date is not given, in the case of both of these stories, you do have a publication date. Notice here the month, if it's a month that is, okay, so if you have May, June, July, you will write those months out, but for all of the rest, you will abbreviate. So March is MAR, period. September is SEPT, period. October is OCT, period. So be mindful of that. You will put the publication date, followed by the website where it's found. And notice here we have access dates. You should be including access dates. Access dates are helpful when you're dealing with online sources because it helps your reader understand when you viewed the information. While for these stories, it's not that important, although I want you to get into the practice of using the access dates. When you are completing your research paper, a source that you're using there may get updated. And if that happens after the date you last looked at the source, which is what you generally put for the access date, you would want me to know that you were looking at an earlier version. So the access date's really important. Notice how it is presented. Also, please keep in mind the different elements of punctuation. So after your author's last name, comma, first name, period, then you have the title, followed by a period. Then you have where it was published, followed by a comma. Then it goes to date if there is a date. Notice that these are two different examples. In this one, there's an author, but we don't have a publication date. This one doesn't have an author, but there is a publication date. So the general rule of thumb is if you don't have something, you just move on to the next item. However, for both of the sources that you're using, you're going to have the author's name, the title of the source, where it was published, the publication date, the website address, and then the access date. Those are the pieces that you will need. All right. If you were using Honeyboy, then you are going to cite this as a work in an anthology, reference, or collection because this story was published. The version you have of it comes from an anthology. So the information that you need to have is who the author of the story is, the title of the story, the anthology it was printed in, the publication date, who it was edited by, the publisher, as well as the page number. So if we look at this, you're going to, here's the basic sample. So you're going to do last name first, period, the title of the story, so that's going to be Honeyboy, period, the title of the collection, so that's going to be your anthology title, and that's going to be followed by a comma, then who it was edited by, so edited by, then you're going to put in those names, followed by a comma, then the publisher, notice here I've provided you the publisher, followed by the comma, the year, followed by the comma, then the page range of entry. So you will need to format that in. You're not going to just pick this information up and stick it on a works cited page. It has to be formatted properly. And then finally, I've given you in-text citation information. So when with these three sources, they're pretty basic. It's one author. So that's very helpful for each of the sources. So if you have a source that has page numbers, you are going to use author's last number and page number in your in-text citation. So notice how this is presented here. Woodworth stated that romantic poetry was marked by a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Notice here, we just have the page number because Wordsworth his name was already in the sentence. Notice here that the punctuation is coming after the quote, after the citation as well. Then, and this one is a little bit different. It says, romantic poetry is characterized by the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Wordsworth 263. Here, it's different. We've included the author's last name because his name was not mentioned in the sentence. Here's also an example of a quick summary. Notice here, there's a citation as well. So these are just gentle reminders. Now, what do you do if you don't have a page number? Typically, you're just going to use the author's last name in your citation. Here's the thing that I'm going to tell you. Different professors want different things when it comes to not having page numbers. So what I'm going to tell you is, even if you've already mentioned the author's name in the sentence, if you do not have page numbers, go ahead and put it in the in-text citation. So maybe you say something like, in Petrick's 10 things, the narrator says da 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 da. At the back, even though you don't have a page number, I want you to go ahead and put Petrick's last name here, even though her name might have been mentioned in the sentence. In most cases, you're not going to have named her in that particular sentence, or Singleton's name in a sentence when you're talking about what's happening in the literature typically. So I think that'll work out okay for you. Next thing I wanted to draw your attention to is a page called Integrating Quotes. It's also in that week 9 module, and it includes a video where I go through different ways to integrate quotes effectively when you're using short quotes, and I also talk to you about how to format longer quotes. Please make sure you read this. This is a place where students, not read this, but watch the video. This is a place where students lose tons of points because they're not doing this correctly. They're not putting their citations in a place, or they don't have signal phrases, or they don't have enough explanation of those quotes that they're using. Please, please, please check this out. It's really important. Another thing I wanted to bring your attention to when it comes to your Works Cited is how you set your page up. With the Works Cited, the title is going to be centered. It's going to be a capital W, capital C, Works Cited. Then you're going to use a hanging indent. Now, you should only have one source. This student has 2, but it's a different paper. Notice that the second line in the citation is indented. This is a requirement of MLA, so you will want to make sure you do this, that you are being mindful of how this should look. I hope these tips helped for this essay. And if you have questions about the MLA, we could talk about it again when we see each other in class, or if you have a conference with me, but I wanted to make sure you had these basics down. I hope this helps.